Hey guys, Simon here, and thanks for stopping by and checking out my channel. Today I'm talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2 and 10 things you don't know about the game. These things can be anything from Easter eggs, trivia, game mechanics, references, or just something so simple you might have overlooked. If you think there was something I missed, please feel free to leave a comment letting me know. Otherwise, if you enjoy the video, do the button thing, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and here we go. This is a very useful piece of information because I'm sure most of you, like me, have trouble at times putting this tripwire down. Just so you know, these tripwires work best when placed in between choke points or places where players need to cross to encounter the enemy team and aren't paying attention. Place them low and out of sight and hope the other players will run headlong into them, giving you a few easy kills. That's not the thing to know though. These tripwires now have a very awesome use until it gets fixed, that is. On the new map Crate, which is one of the new DLC maps from the last Jedi Code, this is the planet that has the red dust on the ground level. This map is noted for being completely flat, which allows for easy sniping. However, the rebel airspeeders make this troublesome because they are flying all over the place on the map. What you need to know for this tip is that these trip wires will now work against these new airspeeders. Simply throw your trip mine out in the open area away from the walkers, preferably areas where these ships come in at the sides and take pop shots at those players who are sniping from the cracks and crevices on the map. Since these new airspeeders are very large, they cover a lot of surface area for them to trip the mine, which will cause damage and possibly blow the whole thing up, granting you a fair amount of battle points. Keep your mine active and fresh. Also, don't forget to lay your traps between the walkers too. The space is large enough to get an airspeeder between. A helpful tip for those players that like hanging in the back and sniping but are having a hard time when dealing with these airspeeders.
Charge set.
Not that you probably haven't noticed this, but it needs to be mentioned that anytime you play in the pre-Galactic Empire time, the clone troopers all resemble Jango Fett because he was the man the clone army was based on. Because of his skills, he was chosen as the master copy of what a clone trooper should be. You can see his face best on the Camino map when you're playing Galactic Assault. When walking through the start, some of the troopers will have the helmets off and look just like Jango Fett, along with the officer you can pick that has the same face. Along with this, you can also hear the trooper talking over the comm at the start, telling you to do this for our brothers.
You don't die for glory or the Republic today. You die for your brothers.
Which, yes, could relate to them being in an army, but I bet it has more to do with them being the same person and being clones. This is just a nice Easter egg for the game to keep everything canon. In the very first mission of the game, you are given control of Eden's ID-10 droid. You start out in a control room of some nature and have to find your way out. After you gain control of the droid, you can take some time to adjust yourself to the controls and check out a few video feeds. This tidbit comes in the form of an ability the droid has and can form on the 3PO unit in the room. You are in no rush to do this, but if you make your way to the droid and stand there, he might make a comment or two about stopping you, but after you gain your shock ability and it is recharged, simply hit the triangle button and watch as you shock the droid so hard it short circuits and falls to the floor. Nothing too great, but a funny thing nonetheless. Not that you would know this by the very useful description the game gives you on Phasm's abilities, but if you hit the melee button while zoomed in with her blaster rifle, you will be able to zoom in closer with her rifle, which helps greatly from a distance. I don't know why small little pieces of information like this slip through the EA cracks, but it's another piece of info to make you a better person on the battlefield. Phasm's normal scope is very small and narrow in general. Knowing that you can zoom in a second time helps because her firing from the hip accuracy only gets better while holding down on the trigger. This will help to better focus your fire with the scope. With this extra piece of info for Phasm, it would seem that she is best at a distance for now until they can fix her staff strikes. On Tatooine, inside the Cantina, you can find another Easter egg that is a classic. Several things in the game have this, but if you walk up to this corner table, you are prompted to hit a button that turns on a table holoprojector. Once you turn it on, the band from A New Hope shows up as a hologram and starts playing their classic song from the film. Something that is very easy to miss in the game when you are running around trying to get things done, but a fun Easter egg to listen to anytime, as the music of Star Wars is just another one of the highlights of this game. Turn the band on and start a shootout and hope for the best. During the Han Solo mission on Takodana, when you must locate a certain someone to help you, you have to make rounds around Maz's bar to eavesdrop on conversations in an attempt to gain information to help you better locate your target. During this mission, Han gets a lot of little tidbits of information related to a lot of little Easter eggs in the Star Wars universe and the Legends universe. I am focusing on the latter for this and the criminal organization that is mentioned during this mission, Black Sun.
Still moving cargo for Black Sun?
Yeah, Adarim is prosperous to say the least. Hiring like you wouldn't believe.
Black Sun is a criminal syndicate that came into power during the Clone Wars because the Jedi became too caught up in military matters instead of upholding the law. They also became entangled with Darth Maul's Shadow Collective when he killed their leader when he refused to join, but again, that's going back into the Legends canon, and that might have been his brother anyway. Black Sun can best be remembered, though, for its introduction into the Star Wars world in the Shadows of the Empire comic. This was a story that took place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It was the story of how Luke and company got the info about where Han Solo went, told from the perspective of hero Dash Rendar. The iconic villain Prince Shizor made his debut in the story as the leader of the Black Sun, who wanted to kill Luke Skywalker in order to embarrass Darth Vader in front of the Emperor, so he could later take it all over for himself. The story was incredibly popular and part of what jump-started the new wave of Star Wars hype in the late 90s to get the prequel trilogy made. If you don't remember what this is, perhaps this will refresh your memory best. On the Jakua mat when playing, you will sometimes see a head pop out of the sand, look around, and go back under if you get too close. This is the same creature from The Force Awakens that pops its head up and looks at Rey and BB-8 as they walk back to her hut. It's a cute little Easter egg, but this creature is a bit more than that. You wouldn't know it from the film, but this creature is called a Night Watcher Worm, or a Sandborer, or an Acronian Night Terror, because they look like Acronians. They live under the sand and are huge. They can sense the slightest vibration from something moving on the surface. Once they do, they usually spring up and snap onto their prey. They are able to eat anything and usually feed on junk, as their mouths are able to grind up metal into scrap and digest it with the stomach acid they have. BB-8 was probably almost eaten by one of these in The Force Awakens when he was strolling by with Rey, but luckily enough that didn't happen. Playing Galactic Assault can be a lot of fun at times. It's fun with 20 on 20, but the real reason most of us play is to get to be a hero and kick everyone's ass in the most badass of ways. How do you play a hero? By buying them with the points you get from playing the objective and killing enemies or even buffing your teammates, and that's where this thing comes in. The officer class has the ability called Field Commander. You gain a temporary boost to your allies' health and yours for a small duration. This is very helpful during huge firefights because you can buff your team and give them more life if they are close to death and keep them alive long enough after they should have died. The best way to use this ability is to get as many people as you can in a cone in front of you. Try to get behind as many of your teammates as possible, not just the yellow dots but the white ones too. Keep an eye on the Field Commander ability because a number will pop up in it showing you how many people will affect with the ability. Get as many as you can together. I try for 10 or more as it grants you way over 250 battle points plus an extra amount for such a large buff to a group. Wait for your moment and bam, just an easy way to get a jump start on collecting your battle points so you can be the first person to pick your hero or villain. This is best used right at the start of a match when everybody is all together and everybody is running towards the same objective. Just watch your cone and see how many people are in that number, and then once it's high enough for you, hit it and then check your points. On Takodana, a little bit away from Maz's castle, you can find a small landing area. There are some parts or whatever here and the cannon that you can protect or destroy during Galactic Assault. This isn't the Easter egg though. This is Slave 1. Most of us have seen this, I am sure, and any Star Wars fan can easily tell you what it is. The ship of Jango Fett and later Boba Fett. Now some people seem to think this is just another random fire spray and not actually Slave 1 because everyone knows Fett went into the Sarlacc pit and no one knows anything as far as new canon in the Star Wars universe. If that's true, then how did the ship get here on this planet? Well, I am sure this is Slave 1 for a few reasons. One, the ship is pretty much identical to Slave 1 except for the stripe pattern here and here. This is the only difference I can really see in the ship. 2. The scorch marks on the side hull are the same spots and marks they were in Empire when escaping Cloud City. More evidence for this can be seen when you choose to play as Slave 1 during Starfighter Assault. You can see the same scorch marks on the same sides in the same place in the holographic image of Fett's ship, and again when you look at the ship on Takodana. My third reason for this being Fett's ship is if you look at the area, you'll notice Slave 1's somewhat dismantled. The wing flaps are taken off, and tarps are put up all around the ship almost like they're trying to cover it up and hide it from the sky. If that is the case, then the real question becomes, how did the ship get here? Because Fett would never give it up, and if someone stole it, then would it make more sense for Maz to be covering the ship up in case Fett comes looking for it? This will jump some off topic, but since it relates to this topic, I feel I should talk about it. In what is now canon, there is a new story called Aftermath, which tells a story about a man named Cobb Vanth, and it is told from the perspective of other characters in the book. Long story short, hints throughout the book seem to point to the fact that this man, Cobb Vanth, is actually Boba Fett. Few details are given about this Cobb character, but what we do know is this. He doesn't tolerate criminal elements, he has scars along his back with hashes and dots which he says are from his slave owners, but they are never mentioned by name in the story. Also, the most important part of the story, Cobb and another man engage some Jawas in a trade. The other man with Cobb buys a set of abandoned Mandalorian armor, which is also described as partially melted and disfigured. Upon seeing this armor, Cobb Vanth demands it from the other man, saying he needs it for his lawman work. The other guy threatens him, but Cobb takes his blaster, shoots the dude, and tells him to leave, and then takes his armor. This sounds like Boba Fett 100%, but again, this is all speculation, but make your own mind up on it as you will. Another piece of info worth noting is that the Jawas also had pieces of Jabba's destroyed sail barge on their sandcrawler, which would indicate they went to the pit and scavenged the area and found Boba Fett's abandoned armor there. Okay, this last topic is a huge spoiler for The Last Jedi, so if you've not seen the movie yet and plan on seeing it, please stop watching the video now, and now. Okay, so if you have seen the movie, you know the final fight takes place on Crate. The First Order comes with the walkers and such to destroy the Resistance, and the Resistance literally has their backs up against the wall. They are saved, however, once Luke shows up. On the Rebel side, if you walk up to the front of the door to their base, you can see a small path of red footprints leading away from the door out to a large red circular area. If you have seen the movie, you know this is the spot Luke is standing when the First Order opens up on him with all of their power. It's not enough to stop him, and the only thing they really accomplish is putting a huge red hole on the map, which is what we are looking at here. It's a very awesome Easter egg to put in the game, and one that was here before the movie even came out. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but it's pretty cool that they added this little detail into the game for all of us to see every time we play this map. Well guys, that's all I have for you on this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you learned something new. Pass it along to a friend and maybe I'll see you out there on the Battlefront. Until then, leave a comment letting me know what you think, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching, and see you again.